Looking for my notes. Looking for my notes. Right. These two up, and then this one. No. Okay. No. 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 Oh, and welcome back to another episode of this and/or our book club series. Hello. I know it's been literally 6 months. So the last time that I was on here was in January, folks. I know it's been a hot minute, and I'm sorry. Most of you know, if you follow me on any social media, that I had a rough year, end of the year last year, real rough, like life-altering rough. Anyways, like you can go back and, I mean, I made a video about it. It's you just search my channel and type in stalker, and you'll find it. Anyways, so and there was a lot more than just that happened, but we don't need to get into that. Again, you can go to my Instagram if you want to know all about that. If you're new here, my name is Brooke. I do lots of different content on my channel, but lately, well, not lately, right now, we're focusing on finishing the book club series that we started last year. It's called The Pact by Jodi Picoult. And so we read the book together, and then we discuss the characters and the drama and our like theories about what we think is going to happen. If you like book discussions, if you like reading, like I love book clubs, I love book discussions. So if that's you, you'll probably enjoy this. Let me tell you, you can either, if you want to like binge watch and start from the beginning of our book club series, and watch every video so that you're caught up. You can search the hashtag book club series, and they will all come up. Or I have a playlist here on my channel, and it says, what is it? It's called Book Club The Pact. And you can binge watch all of the videos made up until this point, so that you can catch up on the story and the discussion and everything that's gone down. Let's see. It's literally been 6 months. 6 months. I'm so happy to be back. I love you guys. I missed you guys. Like, I really missed doing this. I just was mentally not able to be here for this. But anyway, so I'm glad that I stepped away, and I'm really glad to be back. And I love you guys. And I'm glad to pick up the book club series again, because to be honest, I didn't think anybody would follow along. Like, when I started this, I thought there might be like 3 people, but it ended up being more than that. And I don't know, so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna just finish it, at least for those people. You know, I don't want to just quit on those people that did start this with me and want to finish this book with me in this discussion, and we're enjoying the content. So yeah, my main goal is just to finish that and be here for those of you who actually cared about this book club series and followed along. Anyway, so let's see. Also, I'm picking back up right where we left off like 6 months ago. So I am with you all as far as like knowing what's going on and having to like refresh my memory and catch back up. Like, we're all in the same boat, because I have not opened this book since January, since the last time that I filmed. So we're just going to talk about the characters really quick, just give everybody a little refresher, and then I'll get started. So Chris is one of the main characters. He's a teenager. I think he's 18 at this point. But basically, he's on trial for possibly his girlfriend, like murdering his girlfriend. Gus is Chris's mom. James is Chris's dad. Jordan is Chris's lawyer. Selena is Chris's lawyer's assistant. And Melanie and Michael are Emily's parents, who is the dead girl, who was Chris's girlfriend. So Chris main character, Emily main character, she's no longer alive. You've got her parents over here, his parents over here, he's got a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. Basically, that's where we left off. He's awaiting trial. He's in jail. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to say. I tried to go live, y'all. I tried to go live and do this, and the content was terrible. Like, it wouldn't upload, and it was just, you couldn't, it was blurry. God, it was just so bad. So sorry if you were here for that live. I do apologize. But that's why I'm refilming it now. So love that for me. But yeah, anyway, so I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to say. If you're new here and you know what I'm talking about, you're more than welcome to jump in right where we're at, or like I said, you can go back and catch yourself up and binge watch all the videos. However, if you enjoy this content, you'll stick around and hang out with me. Also, if I repeat myself, it's because I'm autistic, or I'm on the autism spectrum, and so sometimes I have like auditory processing difficulties, and so I always have to have people say something twice just to make sure I heard what I thought I heard. So I tend to do that to other people. It's not because I think you guys are stupid, okay? Let's see. So anyways, where we left off was basically Selena, the lawyer assistant, was stalking Michael, who is Emily's dad. Emily's no longer alive, obviously, but like, she was stalking Michael to, like, I guess just find out something that could help the defense. Anyway, so she like follows him to work and like basically interrogates him. I mean, not really, but kind of. And anyway, so they end up like, that's where we left off. Selena follows him to work and wants to talk to him. And again, Michael is the dad of Emily, who is dead. And Selena is the lawyer's assistant for Chris, who is on the opposite side. Chris, her boyfriend, who supposedly murdered his girlfriend, Emily. Now that we're all on the same page. Okay. I'll try to keep my head up so you guys can see, because I know that's annoying just staring at a hat, like. We're picking back up where Selena follows Michael to work. I don't think I'm the person you ought to be talking to, Michael said. You're wrong, Selena countered. You're exactly who I ought to be talking to. I want to ask you, Emily's father, a question. Would she have wanted Chris caught up in this circus? Would she have believed he could kill her? Michael ran his thumbnail along the lip of the steering wheel. Miss, Damascus. Selena Damascus. Selena, then, he said, how would you like a cup of coffee? The diner that Michael drove to was more of a truck stop than anything. Peopled with burly men in red flannel and grimy baseball caps whose rigs were lined up in the parking lot like the long keys of a xylophone. Not much in the way of cuisine around here, he said, by way of apology, and slid into the booth in the rear of the restaurant. He played with the salt and pepper shakers, nervous, Selena thought, while waiting for the waitress to bring over 2 white ceramic mugs filled with steaming coffee. Careful, he warned, as Selena brought the rim to her lips. It can be pretty hot here. Selena took a more tentative sip and grimaced. And as corrosive as battery acid, she added. She set her cup down on the table and spread her palms flat on the table, on either side of a small notebook and pen. So, she said casually. Michael exhaled. I need to know, he said. Is this off the record? I already told you, Dr. Gold, I'm not a reporter. There is no record. He seemed surprised by this. Then why do you need to speak to me? Because there is going to be a trial, Selena said softly. It's important for us to know what you might have to say. Oh, Michael said. Clearly the thought had not yet occurred to him that he'd be dragged onto the stand to replay his grief in front of a jury. Is anyone going to know that you and I talked? Selena nodded. The defense attorney will know, she said. Chris will know. Well, that's all right, Michael said. It's just, how can I explain this to you? I don't want it to look like I've switched to the other side. I don't see how it could, Selena said. I only want to ask you some questions about your daughter and her relationship with Chris. You don't have to answer if you feel uncomfortable. Sometimes I just double check because, like, it doesn't fucking matter. Okay. Good talk. Okay, Michael said after a moment. Shoot. Did you know that your daughter was suicidal? Michael sighed. Wow, don't start off soft, do you? He shook his head. That's a catch-22, you know. If I tell you that she was suicidal, I'm admitting to something I don't really want to. The thing is, I don't know if I can't believe it because of what it is, you know. Excuse me. You know, suicide with a capital S, or because I'm still in denial. He bit his lower lip. But if I tell you that Emily wasn't suicidal, then how do I explain the fact that she's dead? Selena waited patiently, fully aware that he hadn't really answered and that he hadn't blamed Chris. Michael exhaled slowly. I didn't know she was suicidal, he said finally, but I'm not sure if that's because I didn't know what I was supposed to be looking for or because she wasn't at all. Did she come freely to you to discuss problems? She could have, Michael said, leaving Selena to think that she didn't. Who else, she pressed, would Emily have turned to for support? Melanie, I suppose, more than me. He smiled ruefully. It's a girl thing, I guess. Sometimes when she was angry, she'd lock herself in a room and paint 3 or 4 canvases until she got it all out of her system. He hesitated, then shook his head. What? Selena urged. I was going to say, and of course she'd talk to Chris, but then I decided I shouldn't. It's no secret that your daughter and Chris were involved, Selena pointed out. Involved, Michael said, turning the word over on his tongue. You could say that. What would you say? He smiled. They were flip sides of the same coin. There were actually times when the kids were growing up that I forgot Chris wasn't my own son. Sounds like they spent a lot of time together. Inseparable, I think you'd call it. Pretty intense for a high school romance, Selena observed. It wasn't a high school romance, Michael said. At least nobody saw it like that. Nobody would have been surprised to find them getting married after college. Do you think that's what Emily wanted? Yeah, and Chris. Hell, to be honest, all 4 of us parents. Selena wrote down, together out of love, ? Or to live up to their parents' expectations, ? It would be very helpful to the defense if you'd grant me access to Emily's bedroom. This bitch is crazy. Like, she's so invasive. She wants permission to enter the dead girl's bedroom, and she works for the other team, the defense. Okay, a total long shot, but inside, she knew, would be a multitude of clues that might help the defense. Photos tucked into a mirror, love notes stored in a jewelry box, pads still imprinted with the curl of Chris's practiced name. I couldn't, Michael said. Even if my wife wouldn't understand. He ran a finger around the rim of the coffee cup. Melanie, you know, she seized on this trial. I look at her sometimes and I wish it was that easy for me too. I wish I could forget that, 6 months ago, we were all joking about where we'd hold the wedding. I've tried, you know, because of Emily, but I can't seem to throw the past away. Selena held her tongue, the time-honored interrogator's trick for getting a subject to keep talking. See, I identified Emily's body at the hospital, but the morning before that I had seen Emily at breakfast, running outside when Chris honked in his car to take her to school. I watched him kiss her as she got into the car, and I can't hold the 2 things together in my head. Selena studied his face. Do you think Chris Hart killed your daughter? I can't answer that, Michael said, staring at the table. If I do, I wouldn't be putting my daughter first. And nobody loved Emily more than me. He lifted his eyes. Except, maybe Chris. Selena inclined her head. Will you speak to me again, Dr. Gold? Michael smiled, feeling a weight burst free. I'd like that, he said. Okay, we're on the next section. For a moment, Melanie stood at the doorway of her daughter's bedroom, staring at the thick layer of paint on the 6-panel door, which could not completely obliterate the deeply carved warning, "Keep out," in all caps. Emily had been, maybe 9, when she scraped this message into the wood with an X-Acto knife, earning her a grounding for defacing the door and another one for taking a dangerous tool from her father's desk drawer. Water break. I lit a candle this time, guys. And if Melanie recalled correctly, she made Emily paint the door again by herself. But even if the words had been erased, the idea behind it hadn't. and from that day on, neither Michael nor Melanie entered the bedroom without knocking first. Feeling only slightly stupid, Melanie raised her fist to the door and pounded twice, then turned the knob. As far as she knew, Michael had not been coming in here either. The last people through had been the police, searching for God knew what. Melanie didn't think they'd taken anything, at any rate. The pictures of Chris were still tacked around the dresser mirror, the arms of his swim team sweatshirt still wrapped around the pillow on the bed. Em had smelled it. Em had said it smelled of him. The book Emily had been reading for English class was cracked open, face down on the nightstand. A pile of clothing that Melanie had washed and given to Em to put away remained on the edge of the bureau. Sighing, Melanie took the first items of clothing and began to put them back in their respective drawers. Then she stood in the center of the room, turning around, trying to decide what she should do next. She was not ready to take down all the evidence that Emily had lived here, slept here, breathed here only weeks before. But there were some things in this room that she could no longer stand seeing. Melanie began by plucking the photos of Chris from the edge of the mirror. He loves me not, she thought. She collected the pictures into a pile and put them on the bed, then unwrapped Chris's sweatshirt from the pillow and rolled it into a ball. She peeled the tape carefully from a caricature of Emily and Chris that had been stuck to the closet door and added it to the cache on the bed. Then, satisfied, she looked around. Sorry, something was like moving, and that distracted me. Anyways. Then, satisfied, she looked around for something in which to put it all. If Melanie hadn't been reaching for one of the empty shoeboxes in the back of Emily's closet, she never would have noticed that there was a hole in the plaster. But she was down on her hands and knees, groping, when she felt her hand go through the wall. Thinking of rats and bugs and bats, she was relieved when the only object her fingers closed around was solid and immobile. She withdrew a cloth-bound book, which fell open to reveal the familiar, neat loops of Emily's handwriting. She found her diary. She found Emily's diary, like, in a hole in her closet. Okay, so, like, okay, we're about to get into some tea. This is about to be some tea. Where are we at? Okay. I didn't know she still kept one, Melanie murmured. When Em had been younger, she'd had a diary, but it had been years since Melanie had seen her writing in it. Flipping to the last page and then back to the first, she realized that this journal was recent. It went back almost a year and a half, and as far forward as the day before Emily's death. Feeling decidedly uncomfortable, Melanie began to read. Many of the entries were mundane, but certain sentences leaped out at her. And this is like the diary entry. Sometimes it's like I'm kissing my brother, but how do I tell him that? I have to look at Chris's face to figure out what I'm supposed to be feeling. And then I spend the rest of the night wondering why I don't. I had that dream again. The one that makes me feel dirty. And that's the end of the entry. What dream? Melanie skipped back a few pages and then forward. And before she could find another reference to that dream, she found herself reading about the night her daughter had lost her virginity. Emily had made love for the first time at the same spot where she was murdered. Shit, I said it, sorry. Melanie read the whole book through, losing track of time. Her hands relaxed, and the journal fluttered to the last page, to the entry made the day that Emily had died. And it says this: if I tell him, he will marry me. It's that simple. And that's it. She was talking about the baby. It was clear, even without the specific word on the page. As of the time she'd written this, on November 7th, Emily hadn't told Chris she was pregnant. Just as she had not told her parents. Barry Delaney's whole case against Chris was based on this baby, on the premise that he planned to with the premise that he planned to kill Emily to get rid of the baby. But how could he get rid of a child he knew nothing about? So basically, the prosecution has no case, basically, is what she's finding out. Because their premise is that he killed Emily because he didn't want the baby. Well, he didn't know that there was a baby, is what she's finding out now. Some tea? This is some tea? Okay. Melanie closed the journal, feeling ill. Her mind still trembled with revenge. So full with justice that she did not even notice that in her journal, Emily had not said goodbye. She gathered the photos of Chris that she pulled from the mirror and knotted them in the belly of his sweatshirt. Then she walked downstairs, the book tucked beneath her arm, the sweatshirt clutched in her hand. Okay, I gotta move this object. It keeps like, the air conditioning is making, it's this toilet paper, and air conditioning is making it do this. And I'm too ADHD to fucking look at that right now. Out of the corner of my eye, I can't handle it. Okay. Alright, anyways. Then she walked downstairs, the book tucked beneath her arm, blah blah blah. She went, okay, the sweatshirt clutched in her hand. She went to the formal living room, the one nobody really lived in, which held the house's only fireplace. They'd used it maybe 4 times in their whole history of owning the house. With a wood stove in the kitchen, the fireplace seemed extraneous, especially in a room filled with uncomfortable Queen Anne furniture, bequeathed from some forgotten relative. Melanie knelt down and scattered the photos across the iron gate, then bunched the sweatshirt on top of it. She retrieved a pack of matches from the kitchen and lit the fire, watching the flames lick at the pictures of Chris before burrowing into the weave of the sweatshirt and erupting in a high blue peak. So she's burning all this shit. Then she threw the journal onto the grate. Her arms crossed tightly as the binding began to curl and the pages became ash. She just burned probably one of the only pieces of evidence that would clear Chris of... yeah. Melanie? Coming home from work, Michael's footsteps circuited the house, finally stopping at the small, unused living room. He stared at the fireplace, still smoldering, and then at his wife. "What are you doing?" Melanie shrugged. "I was cold," she said. That's the end of that section. We're going to end it there. So again, this was reading 15 of our book club series, The Pact, by Jodi Picoult. I love you guys so much. I'm so happy to be back. I really did miss you. And if you're new here, I hope you enjoy the content. If you relate to anything that I've said or you enjoy this content at all, I hope you'll stick around and hang out with me more. I love you guys, and I hope you have a fantastic week. I'll see you. Hold on.
How y'all feel out there?
I'm light years, call me eons. When the snare kick in, the beat is neon. Lights, yeah, I'm feeling magnificent. Care less what I'm up against.